Hello, in this video I'm gonna show you how to install Windows from a USB drive on your Gigabyte laptop. So in order to install Windows on Gigabyte G7, we will need, first let's talk about why you may be installing it. So first, most common reason is if you don't have any system on your laptop, or if the system is corrupted and you just want to reinstall it so it all works fine. But also, sometimes you may forget your PIN or password to your account, or maybe your Windows is locked with BitLocker after changing something and you cannot restore it with the BitLocker key. Then the best way to fix your laptop is simply installing Windows from a USB. But before we begin, you need to be aware that this will unfortunately erase all your data on your drive. So if you just don't have access to your account right now and you cannot back it up, then unfortunately you'll lose everything that's not backed up. But it's better to have any system on your laptop than to have your your laptop not working. So I guess it's still worth it. Also, you may want to install Windows if everything's fine, but you just want to install a fresh copy and factory reset through the settings doesn't work for some reason. So let's begin by the tools that we'll need. And if you don't have access to your system right now, then you'll need another second Windows device that will create a USB bootable drive on. If you have a USB bootable drive already created or bought from some website or from Microsoft directly, then you can just continue to the step where we're booting from that drive. So you can just fast forward to that, but we'll also need the USB drive. It can be USB-A, USB-C. I actually have both in one device, and it has to be at least 16 gigabytes in order to be able to get created. And also, unfortunately, you need to have access to Ethernet. So you need to have an Ethernet cable or go to a place that has some that you can get. It just has to be connected to your router and to your laptop. This is how this cable looks. And we will need it because unfortunately, even if you want to install Wi-Fi drivers, on most laptops it'll work. You can just download the Wi-Fi drivers from the Gigabyte website. But on this one, unfortunately, it's not possible. And even if you install the driver, it just gives an error. So it's unfortunately impossible, and we need that cable in order to make the drivers install themselves, since we can't really download them from the internet. So once I have that set, we know all the tools. Let's begin by with the working Windows device. To go to a browser. So actually, I'm gonna connect the Ethernet cable to this laptop. I'm doing it on the same one, but I'm gonna connect it just to make this process faster, because it'll make my connection better and the files will download faster. Okay, so I think I have that connected. It should display in the system in a moment. Yes, and I'm also gonna disable the Wi-Fi to make sure that it's using the Ethernet, not the Wi-Fi. Now I have that connected. You can also do it on the Wi-Fi now. And if you're using on another device, of course, just whichever device works, that device should be used now. And begin by searching for Windows 11 ISO. Then go to download Windows 11. Make sure you are going to the www.microsoft.com website, not any other one. because it has to be the official one. Other ones may contain viruses, which you probably don't want. Then scroll down to download Windows 11 disk image ISO and select Windows 11 multi-edition ISO for x64 devices and click on download now. Now select the product language. Make sure you select the correct one, because if you select any incorrect one, you can change it later in settings, but it won't change fully, it would just only partially change in the system. Then click on confirm and wait a moment. Now click on 64-bit download and it'll start downloading the file. In the meantime, we should go also to Rufus.ie website. This is the exact website you should go on, and scroll down to download. Then download this first version probably, or after downloading, if it doesn't work, then get the x86 most probably, or if you have an ARM processor, then maybe the ARM one. But I'm pretty sure the first one will work on your other device, even if you're using like some older one. If it's not too old, then probably the first one will work. On some rare occasions, either of those two last ones. Now I'm gonna open the Rufus tool, and we can begin by plugging in the USB drive. You can see I don't have any devices listed here. And if I plug in the USB drive, it shows up here. If you have several drives on this device list, then please make sure you're selecting the correct device. So if you have problem with identifying which device is the correct one, then just unplug the other ones, the other USB devices from the laptop you're working on right now, so that working Windows device, because if you select the wrong one, it'll erase all the data on the wrong drive, so you probably don't want that. And before we start, you also need to know that it will erase all the data on your USB drive. So if you're not really sure if you want to do that, then maybe get another USB drive. I think that 16 gigabytes USB drive, which is enough for that, will not be too expensive, and it's better to just get another one than erasing something important from your USB drive, or back it up if you can to some other drive. Now I think that the ISO is almost finished downloading. So yes, it is now finished. I can click on select in Rufus, then select that Windows 11 ISO. It's probably in the downloads folder, or if you've changed the download folder, then you probably know that you've changed it. Then wait a moment until it scans the image. And once you're done, click on start. You can remove the requirements here, but I'm gonna leave them because it'll still work without them being removed, and I want to make it as universal as I can, so everything will look exactly the same, even for those that have the USB drive already created or bought from Microsoft. Then I'm gonna click on OK. It says that all data on the USB drive will be erased. Let's click on OK and wait until it finishes. It may take several minutes, and I'll get back to you when that's created. It'll just say ready here, and the whole bar will be. And now that drive is created, so we won't need that working Windows device anymore. We can move on to the Gigabyte laptop. So I'm gonna just close it, and on the Gigabyte laptop now, plug in the USB drive to any of the ports, preferably to USB 3.0, because on some of Gigabyte G7 models, on the left side there are two USB ports, where one of them is 2.0, the other one is 3.0. The 3.0 is blue inside, so that's how you distinguish them, and you choose the 3.0 to make the process faster. If your Gigabyte laptop is currently turned on, then first shut it down. So click on the start, power icon, and shut down, but it's probably shut down now. And before we begin with this installation, make sure that it's plugged into power. It has to be plugged into power and it has to be charging. If it isn't, then your laptop may turn off during the process, and we don't want that because it may break some things on our disk. And let's begin by booting to the drive, but I'm gonna wait for a bit longer to make sure it's fully off, because I think I can still hear the fans going. And now you should press on the power button, and immediately after releasing it, just press on it shortly, and immediately after pressing on it, start pressing F12 key repeatedly until you see the one-time boot menu. So the F12 is of course here, and you need to press on that repeatedly after releasing the power button. Okay, so I've pressed on the power button, it has lit up, so I'm pressing on the F12 repeatedly. If you've gotten into that, then it's great. If you didn't, then you should try again until you get that finally with the F12 key and stuff. And now you can select the EFI USB device, click on enter, and wait until it boots from that drive, and we'll begin with the Windows 11 installation. Okay, and most probably the touchpad isn't working. No, it's actually working. So I don't need to provide instructions on how to set it up without the touchpad, because in some cases the touchpad isn't working until you do an update. So up until then, sometimes you need to simply use the keyboard. But here I can simply use the touchpad, select the language to install and time and currency format, but it doesn't really matter because it will also be changed later. You can change it later. So then select keyboard or input method. It doesn't also really matter. Let's click on next. And then select whether you want to install Windows. Just select it. Just select install Windows 11 and select I agree, everything will be deleted. Now click on next. If it asks you for product key and you have it, you can enter it here. Or if you don't have it, or your Windows has already been activated earlier, you can click on I don't have a product key. And now select the version of Windows that you want to install. And here, if you just don't care, if you don't want to activate the Windows, select. I would recommend selecting Windows 11 Pro. But if you have your Windows already activated, then select the version that's corresponding to the version that it was activated to. But I highly recommend the Pro version if you don't know which one to choose. Now click on accept. And if you don't know which version was there before and you know it was activated, then you probably will find it somewhere on the box in which the laptop came, or in like some receipts maybe. Now you have the disk 0 and disk 1. And disk 0, first, I'd prefer you to really make sure that disk 0 is your internal storage. So you can sum up the total size of all the partitions plus the unallocated space. And if it's somewhere around your internal disk storage, of course, it doesn't have to be exactly, but somewhere around. So in my case, it'll be like, let's say 477 gigabytes. It's somewhere around 512. So that disk 0 is actually the disk that I want to install it on. But if you only have disk 0 and disk 1, then Disk 1 should have partition 1, partition 2, and they should have names. So you know that this is the USB drive and you shouldn't be installing Windows on it because you're installing Windows from it. And now select all of the partitions of the disk 0 just separately. Select the first one, click on delete partition, and do that so on until there's only disk 0 unallocated space. This is how you should be doing it. As you can see, I'm just deleting all the partitions. It's the easiest way, the least problematic. And now once you have disk 0 unallocated space, make sure this is selected, then click on next. Now click on install and wait until it gets installed. It'll take a while. Probably your PC will restart about 3 times, and then we'll get to the Windows 11 setup process. And now we are in the setup process. So let's begin by selecting the country or region. So I'm gonna select United States, and then keyboard layout on it or input method. Now you can add another one or skip it. And you can see we don't have the Wi-Fi drivers and they can't really be installed as I've said. So let's just plug in the Ethernet cable. I've purposely unplugged it earlier just so you could see how the screen about the network looks. I'm gonna make sure it's plugged in correctly. Once it is, it'll start identifying, and if it identifies it, I'm gonna click on next. Now it'll start checking for updates, so you can just watch how this update process looks. I'm not gonna do a full setup because I don't want to make this video unnecessarily long. But you'll for sure see this update process which I'm 100% sure will install the updates. So it'll just restart everything. You don't need to do anything. You actually shouldn't do anything. Make sure your PC is plugged into power all the time and you don't click on anything until it restarts. After it restarts, it'll go back to the next, go further to the next step, and then 2 more steps and we'll start updating again. The second update will take longer, and after that you can just log in with the Microsoft account and continue with the setup. If you want to learn more about the setup, you can watch a video on our channel on how to set up this laptop, or on how to set it up without the Microsoft account in case you don't want to use the Microsoft account. And let's just wait until the updates are done at least. And now it says that I need to connect again, although I'm connected, so let's click on next. Then you can rename your device, but I'm gonna skip it because it takes time. It has to restart the PC, so I don't really want to do it now. Then you can set it up for personal use, most probably. Only set it up for work or school in case you are using the organization's Microsoft account. So if you're setting it up as a property of an organization, then you should set it up for work or school, but for personal use otherwise. And now it'll start checking for updates, and as I said, they will take longer than the previous ones. So I'll get back to you when they are done. And now the updates are completed, so I'm not gonna continue with the Microsoft account right now. But you can do that later, of course, watching my video or just doing it on your own if you feel like it. And I hope that video helped you. That's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.